Getting it all set up for y'all. We getting ready to get started. Give me a second. The camera right. All right. We about to get this. Huh? You did? You made a mess? I know.
Because I get them hard. We got them yesterday.
Yep, give me 1 second. We about to get this film started. Let's see what we got going on here. Let me see what we got going on here. One second. All right. I think we good. Are we good? We good. Let's go.
And it says that you are created in the image of God and in the likeness of God. It means God is what color? Black. And anytime anybody gives you a God who doesn't look like you give him that God back. You say, you know what? Yeah, your God looks okay, but just take him. Because at the dawn of time, there were no other people on earth but us.
And let me pause it right now. As I've been lecturing and teaching, especially to my brothers and sisters, what the biblical scriptures really show. I lecture Sunday in Sunday school to show you in the Old Testament and the New Testament who are the old church fathers. So that tell you that you don't come from no one else. The color spectrum comes from dark to light. This just facts. So we got to stop with all the cliche talk about color don't matter and all that. Because if it didn't matter, brothers and sisters would tell the truth from the beginning. And truth has no sides. That's one thing that we're going to break down today. So let's finish the film.
Us. Now, and you know the most interesting story is that story unfolded around this river that passes through your district. The Nile. That is where humanity began. To the extent that UNESCO, United Nations Educational Scientific Committee Organization, in volume 2, chapter 1, it says as a result of the work of Professor Like and other subsequent work, it reads as conclude that more than 150,000 years ago, beings morphologically identical with the man of today were living in the area of the Great Lakes, at the foothills of the mountains of the moon, at the source of the Nile, in the land of the gods, and nowhere else. UNESCO, nowhere else. Humanity went through 5 stages. The first stages are known as Australopithecine, black. Where were they living? Where you are living. How old? How long ago? 5.5 million years ago. Who was living in Europe at that time? No one. Who was living in Asia at that time? No one. Who was living in America North? None. America South? None. Bismarck Archipelago? No one. Australia? Tonga? None. Haiti, Fiji, Samoa, who was living there? No one. Humanity was only here. 3.5 million years ago, Homo habilis.
Hey, what's up, good people? I'll be doing fine wherever you are today. This is a presenter, Jintek Stories. And there's something interesting that I found online, and I think it's important if we try to share
Let me get to
share
the
with
good
each other.
stuff.
Now, I don't want to say much, but I would like to highlight something. We have our, say,
No. Were they Scottish? No. What about your grandmother? No. And your
this seed is always growing in Africans. It explains why when white people come to African countries, black people could even worship them, right? Because they take them as people who are so much superior. This is because of the whitewashing that was done unto Africans. And so it is so refreshing to see these African professors come out and talk about this, come out and teach people about this. I would just like to give a short, for those who don't know the professor, I would like to, say one, two, three things about him that I feel it's important. Now, Dr. Kieran Kuba is a Ugandan writer, historian, media personality, and a public intellectual known for his extensive work on Africa, history, culture, and politics. His work often focuses on decolonization, Pan-Africanism, and the critique of Western influence on African society. Just the way I've introduced him, because he is a Pan-African, and we as African, we are living in a whitewashed society in as much as it is in Africa, right? Our freedom is still not ours. So having these kind of people, professors, it's important because it teaches us to understand our own power, our own influence. So I want to let this video play. I don't want to say much. If you're watching this video for the first time, I'll most definitely ask you to subscribe to the channel, join the membership, and really get to see what we can offer you. Until then, let's dive right into watch the video. I'll be back.
But I know you have not heard about this information. Why? Because when white people colonize the world, they also colonize the information about the world. So white people hid the information about yourself. They didn't want to tell you you are a great person. Let me give you examples of something that you know. You've all read about the Bible, haven't you? Yeah? Now, who wrote the first 5 books of the Bible? Who can tell me? Who wrote the first 5 books of the Bible? Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Bible. We don't know his second name. He had only one name. Unlike you, who have 2 English names and 1 Langi name. What is your name? John James Okecho. Where did you get John from? My parents. Were your parents English? No. Were they Scottish? No. What about your grandmother? No. And your grandfather? No. So where did you get John from? I don't know. Do you have a grandfather? Yes. Did he have a long name? Yes. Why are you not named after his name? I don't know. What does the word John mean? I don't know. Maybe it means a saint somewhere. But for a start, I want to excite you in this word called melanin. Melanin. Who knows this word? Who of you knows melanin? You haven't started learning, particularly if you're a black person, unless you know what melanin is. Melanin is a carbon that does not deteriorate over time. Melanin is your black skin pigmentation. Or in plants, it is equivalent to chlorophyll. But it is the most powerful thing that you can have. In terms of people, we gauge your importance on the amount of melanin you have. So we say the darker the better. The darker the better. Now, this melanin is responsible for a lot of things, and I want you to write them down. I hope you have where to write, students. Number 1, it protects you against the ultraviolet rays of the sun and the energy from the earth. So, When the sun hits your body, certain rays are allowed in, certain rays are filtered out. It stops you getting skin cancer. Then it protects you against the energy from the earth, which means if you are standing, it anchors you. Like in electricity, you have earthing. Yeah? When something is earth, it's not hit by lightning. You know that. So, if you are standing here with a white person and lightning struck, it would pick a white person, throw him there, you would remain standing tall, blessed of the sun. Because...
Do you need a loan for your business? Well, if you've been around for more than a year, I'm about to show you how to get up to $3 million.
Because of your melanin. So, number one, protects you against the ultraviolet rays of the sun. Number two, protects you against the energy from the earth. It anchors you. Number three, melanin is responsible for healing. When you cut yourself, if you cut yourself, you see blood, you see something red, they may be white. And when it starts healing, a dark skin comes and covers it, or a dark patch comes and covers it. That dark patch is melanin. Melanin sends reinforcement around the area that is affected and brings about healing. So melanin is also responsible for healing. Melanin is responsible for a sleeping cycle, how you sleep. If you don't have melanin, you don't sleep properly. You have what they call insomnia. Melanin controls fatigue. So you are not tired most of the time. So other people who don't have melanin, they have fatigue. If they travel in a plane, they get what they call jet lag. Then melanin is also responsible for something else, what we call a corresponding cosmic connection. It links you to the universe. You begin feeling something. You feel energy pulses. You know, there is a lot of energy that is here that you don't see. Energy you don't see, but you can harness it. For example, if somebody calls you on phone, you don't see the sound traveling in the air, but it comes to your phone. So there is a ultraviolet, ultra high frequency signal that comes to your telephone. Are you with me? So, for example, one way you can test a corresponding cosmic connection is when a black person hears a music pulse, a sound pulse, an energy sound. So if I say na 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 na, oh Africa, Africa, na 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 na, oh Africa. Straight away you feel the rhythm. Even before you hear it pulsate through your veins. If it was a white person, they wouldn't feel the rhythm. And if they started dancing, they'll be jumping up like this, and then they'll do this, and they would not move in tandem with the rhythm because they don't have melanin. They do not have that corresponding cosmic connection. The corresponding cosmic connection also means that you could be seated here, and something happens to you, and your mother at home will see a leaf fall from a tree, and you'll say, there's something wrong with my son. Or you could be going somewhere and you see a rat cross the road, you say, this is not a good thing. So that nature works with you, not against you, to warn you, you are at harmony with nature. So that's another thing that melanin does. Protects you against the ultraviolet rays of the sun, the energy from the earth. Melanin controls healing, melanin controls fatigue, melanin gives you a corresponding cosmic connection. But melanin also does something else. Melanin gives you dominant genes. Now, you know the science of genetics. Yeah? You know genetics, genes. That science started around 1822 with a gentleman called Gregor Mendel. Gregor Mendel was an Austrian from Austria, and he was a Catholic priest from the Augustine monks. He was an Augustine monk. Augustine lived around the 2nd, 3rd, 4th century AD, and he was the black person who lived in North Africa in a place called Hippo Regius, who wrote the laws of the Catholic Church. Because most of you think that, white people brought religion and and they taught you how to read and write. That's all not true. That's what we call his story, the white man's side of the story. It's not our story. It's not true. So I'm just telling you that the great Augustine of Hippo was this bishop who wrote the laws of the Catholic Church. Now, the followers of Augustine are called Augustinian monks. And one of the Augustinian monks was Gregory Mendel, who lived in Austria around 1822. And in Austria, he was looking at genes, because at that time, white people were wondering where humanity started. Who are the first people to populate the world? And they thought that white people were the first people to populate the world. And at the time, Christianity was very heavy in Europe. It's not the same now. You know, if you go in a church in England, you will probably find about 2 or 3 people, the priest and his assistant and maybe one other person, unless it's Christmas. You know, so they were first looking in Europe. Then they couldn't find, the oldest they could go was 40,000 years. Then they went to Asia, the oldest they could go was 900,000 years. And then they came to Africa. And the oldest they could go in Africa was about 1.5 million years. So, Mendel wanted to find out, using genes, inherited characteristics. Because you know, when a man meets a woman, in Africa we say you have a spiritual congress. European people say you have sex. In Africa we don't have sex. We don't even have a word for it. We call it a spiritual congress. But when a man meets a woman, they exchange first genes. And the first genes they exchange.
Are you looking to establish your business using an address other than your home? Wish you had a professional business address and phone number.
Genes. And the first genes they exchange, is called nuclear DNA. And you share, almost equal sequence that sit on your chromosome. So you have a certain equal percentage from the male and the female. But there is a certain gene that the mother passes on to the child without going through the filtration process. That is called mitochondria DNA. Mitochondria DNA. Sometimes it's written like this. Mitochondria DNA. That one the mother passes to the child without going through filtration process. The father doesn't contribute to that DNA. So if we want to find out who is your father, we will just look at your mitochondria DNA. But the inherited characteristics pass through from the nuclear DNA. So Mendel was looking at these characteristics, and he was looking at plants to see what does a father plant give to a child plant? What does a mother plant give to a child plant? And then he went to animals. And Mendel concluded that if you began with white people, you would you'd never have got black people. Because white people have what they call recessive genes. You study that? You study recessive genes? You also study dominant genes. You study that? Now, if you study recessive genes and dominant genes, you know that a recessive can never produce a what? A recessive can never produce a dominant. But a dominant can do what? Very good, very good. Some of your fees, went for a good cause. Huh? If you know recessive genes, you can never stay away from that. Recessive genes. No 2 white cats can produce a black cat. No 2 white goats can produce a black goat. No 2 white cows can produce a black cow. No 2 white chickens can produce a white chicken. And no 2 albinos, no 2 white people can produce a black person. Why? Because black is dominant and white is recessive. Which means what? It means you produced white people. If you had begun with white people, if Adam and Eve had been a white person, you would not be here. It means that you, who has melanin is the most incredible, most powerful thing that you can have. You have no idea what melanin is. what being black means, what having black skin is. White people today, that's why I said go and look for this, melatonin. You will find thousands and thousands of products made out of melatonin. White people inject their lips to have fresh lips, like a black woman's or a black man's. Because white people have no lips. Their lips are almost like this. You know that? Those of you have seen white people. Yeah? They are cut short. There wasn't enough material. But for you, being the first person, you utilize all the material to make yourself into a full person. Yeah? White people are injecting their breasts to have full breasts like a black woman. Because most of white people don't have, they have like flat chest. You sometimes see, is it a man? Or now they wear trousers. Hey, a man or a woman? And because of plastic, they also have beards. So you don't know whether you're really dealing with a man. But quite significantly, white women are injecting their behind with melatonin so that they can have what they call steatopedia, the unusual accumulation of fat on the black woman's behind. You know? Whereas white women have what we call ironing board backside, you know, completely flat. There is nothing there. Yeah? So there is nothing more beautiful than being a black person. Nothing more powerful than being a black person. There is nothing more beautiful. Listen to me. White people, you know, most of the time, as black people, we hate ourselves. And unless we deal with that hatred among us black people, we cannot achieve anything. We can't become a scientist, you can't become a historian, you can't become successful, you can't become only successful to a limit where everybody's trying to pull you down. But why do we hate ourselves? Because we were told in the Bible that we were cursed. Haven't you heard that? The curse of Ham? That we were cursed as the sons of Ham. And yet, cursed in the Bible, Noah, who was a drunkard, cursed Canaan. He didn't curse, he cursed one son of black people, but not all. Because Noah was also a black person, according to the Bible. And, you know, hopefully we'll come, you know, uncover this. So, we hate ourselves. And even in everyday language, if I want to cheat you, I blackmail you. If I want to put you on a bad list, I blacklist you. In a what book? In a black book. Haven't you heard that? That will put you in a black book. Teachers used to have black books. Do they still have them? Yeah? Change their name. Call them white books or, you know, danger books. Now, if it is a bad spot on the road, it is called a white spot on the road. A black spot. If it is a bad trading day, it is called a black day. If it is in a legal market, it is called a what market? A black market. Which means if there are black people in the market, then the market is illegal. You are not supposed to trade. Yeah? As long as you see black people, it's illegal. You know? So we wear black for funerals. And when we wear our mosquito nets for weddings, what color are they? Hey, you have not seen the wedding dresses. What do you think they make them out of? Mosquito net, except there are many of them piled together. So stay away from them when you get married. Huh? Don't go and get a mosquito net and then they have a long one so that when it's walking, it keeps cleaning the street. Yeah? I don't know why they do such a thing. So, when you wear white for weddings and you wear what color for funerals? Black. Now, in your homes, the pictures of God that you have is what color? Be honest, tell the truth and shame the white man. What color are the pictures on the wall in your homes? White. And what color then is the devil? So if I kill all of you, I'd have fought the devil, won't I? Is that not, doesn't it make sense? If I am a Christian, and they say onward Christian soldiers, if I am a soldier of Christ, my job is to fight the devil. What does the devil look like? Isn't it black? When you go in a military college, the sabao, when you are learning how to shoot, the target practice is what kind of head? It's a black head. So it is no wonder that black people hate themselves. Because every time you see God, you are not thinking of your sister or your mother or your uncle. You are not thinking of Kiura Nkuba as looking like God. No. You are thinking that somebody else, not you, looks like God and you look like the devil. And most of the time, if I look like the devil, I am told I'm a devil, then I act like a devil. I don't want to disappoint people. People thinking that, I'm a wonderful person. Let me try to live up to the part. That's what psychology says. But I'm here to tell you today, number one, that when God created the world, there were no white people at all. There were no Chinese. There were no Indians. There were no Italians, no Romans, no Germans, no Poles, no Finns, no Swedes, no Goths, no Vandals, no Visigoths, no Vikings. There were only black people. Only black people. They were probably at the time darker than you. So, if you read any sacred text and it says that you are created in the image of God and in the likeness of God, it means God is what color? Black. And anytime anybody gives you a God who doesn't look like you, you give him that God back. You say, you know what? Yeah, your God looks okay, but just take him. Because at the dawn of time, there were no other people on earth but us. Now, and the most interesting story is that story unfolded around this river that passes through your district. The Nile. That is where humanity began. To the extent that UNESCO, United Nations Educational Scientific Committee Organization, in volume 2, chapter 1, it says, as a result of the work of Professor Like and other subsequent work, it leads us to conclude that more than 150,000 years ago, beings morphologically identical with the man of today were living in the area of the Great Lakes, at the foothills of the mountains of the moon, at the source of the Nile, in the land of the gods, and nowhere else. UNESCO, nowhere else. Humanity went through 5 stages. The first stages are known as Australopithecine, black. Where were they living? Where you are living. How old? How long ago? 5.5 million years ago. Who was living in Europe at that time? No one. Who was living in Asia at that time? No one. Who was living in America North? None. America South? None. Bismarck Archipelago? No one. Australia? Tonga? None. Haiti? Fiji? Samoa? Who was living there? No one. Humanity was only here. 3.5 million years ago, Homo habilis. Where was he living? Here. Was he living elsewhere? No. 1.5 million years. Humanity at the stage of Homo erectus, the African that walks upright. Where is he living? Here. He lives here to populate the world. He passes through the Gulf of Eden, avoids Saudi Arabia, crosses into India. And then he goes through Kenya, Mijikenda, Tayar in Australia, and populates all the islands in between. Avoids Israel, avoids Jordan, avoids Syria. He also discovers fire. Then 150,000 years, modern man, known as Homo sapien. Homo sapien. The oldest Homo sapien, the bones discovered in Omo Valley in Ethiopia and Kenya. He started where? Here. Then he moves with his feet and his cows, mobile food, and his language, articulated symbolic language, and his brain, a bigger cranium, and he populates Europe. He is the first person to populate Europe about 40,000 years ago, known as Gromoldi. The first people to populate Europe were black people. They were known as Gromordi. First people to populate England were black people. They were known as Bika. First people to populate India were black people. They were known as Dravidians. First people to populate Japan, black people. They were known as Masaba Negroes. Mulembe, Kamaku, Wagasile, they came from here. They populated Japan. That's why Japanese names are like Ugandan names. Takahara, Nakamura, Kato, Toyota, all those, because the first Japanese were black people. In ancient time, the whole world belonged to the black man, the black woman. You are the people that populated the world. You are the people that gave birth to everybody else. And quite significantly, and I am telling you this as a scholar, I have a library of 32,000 books. I have read each one of them, not only read them, but remember them. I have traveled in almost every corner of the world, lectured at the most prestigious universities. I am telling you that in ancient time, the only people who are on earth were you and your ancestors. You. And you are also the people of the scriptures. All scripture, be it the Rig Veda, the Nama Pali, the Peru, the Papyrus of Ani, the Papyrus of Hunefa, the Quran, the Bible, the Book of Zoroaster, the Epic of Gilgamesh, is all about black people. Black people.
Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. I just hope that you're fine. Now, both you and I will agree that the talks that Dr. Kieran Kuba was trying to share with us was so fascinating, was so eye-opening, was so refreshing, right? Because I believe it's important for us to, always talk about these subjects, talk about these topics, because it teaches us to value ourselves as black people. Because for the longest time, we have been at the periphery, at the expense of these people. And man, it is so refreshing because we Africans, we are the ones who have paid these, right? Because we don't know the value of just having the melanin. Freaking can't. At FanDuel, we know hockey fans don't just have a hunch. You have a hockey hunch. Because Uganda is one of we having these African leaders. And you as a black American, you as an African American, and you as foundationally black American, a person who
I wanna see if I can pull something up. I'm gonna close out with this. Let's see if I can pull something up for y'all, family. Real fast. If it'll pull up. Let me see. And I'll close with this little piece of wisdom for you. Come on. Let's see. Let's see if it'll pop up. I wanted to see if I can pull something up for you real fast. Let's see. It might pop up. It did. Let's see. Oh, where'd it go? Hold on. Hey. 1 second, family.
That's spicy.
I want to see if I can share some with y'all before. Let's see. Oh, it ain't gonna let me get it. Probably it just came to my head. And oh man, let's see.
You laughing at yourself.
Yeah. But I just give a little, like the title Africa, and how it did not come from Scipio Africanus. And this is something that I did at GCU, you know, in the history department. And we had a great conversation about it. But I just wanted to leave with this. The birth name of Scipio Africanus was Publius Cornelius Scipio. And Publius Cornelius Scipio earned the title or the agnomen Africanus after defeating General Hannibal Barca, you know, at the Battle of Zama in the Second Punic War. So I thought I had my documents of that, but oh, I do. Let's see if it pop all the way up for me. Okay, well maybe I can give it to you like this because it's not popping all the way up, but my notes popped up. But Africa, the name, the origin, the meaning. Every nation, landmass, and continent has names that have evolved over the centuries. All of the names you think Africa was called in the distant past are only local names used by a few tribes, nations, and only refer to small sections of the continent. There are multiple ancient African sources for the word Africa, including the Berber word Ifri or Afari or Ifri, I-F-R-I, and the Berber word Afir or Afir, A-F-E-R, which is the name of Banu Afran, B-A-N-U-I-F-R-A-N, from Algeria and Tripolian. Africa can also be derived from the Egyptian Af-Rukat, the A-F, the R-U-I, the K-A, to turn toward the opening of the Ka. The Ka is the energetic double of every person. An opening of the Ka refers to a womb or the birthplace per se. And Africa would be for the ancient Egyptians the birthplace, as the scholar was saying. These and many other ancient sources include hieroglyphics, make reference to the title or designation, African. The word Afu, A-F-U, carries the meaning of the house. The second word, Ra, is one of the names of the divine creator in Africa in general and Egypt in particular. The third word, Ka, the K-A, carries the meaning of the soul or spirit. When you put it all together, what do you get? You get Af-Ru-Ka. Af-Ru-Ka. The meaning of Af-Ru-Ka is the house of the soul or the spirit of the divine creator. This word is the form refers to the land of the divine creator. And the Africans, per se, look at their land as belonging to and created by the divine creator. The Afrikani, A-F-U-R-A-K-A-N-I, a word derived from Afrika, A-F-U-R-A-K-A, also carries the meaning of the house for the soul or the spirit of the divine creator, but in reference to the human being, male in particular. The plural form is Afrikanu, A-F-U-R-A-K-A-N-U, peace, Noble Brian, which refers to all males as house for the spirit or soul of the divine creator. So the Af-Rak-Kenit, the A-F-U-R-A-I-T, K-A-I-T-N-I-T, is the female house for the soul or the spirit of the divine creator, or aka the Baphomet per se, written Kabbalistically. The plural form of Afru Rak Kanut, which refers to all females as houses for the soul or the spirit of the divine creator. This is the philosophy of the Afrikaans, aka Africans. The Afrikaans, aka Africans, believed that all human beings were the carriers and houses for the soul and spirit of the divine creator. This information comes, you can, like I said, it was written before from other scholars. You can research it in The Destruction of Black Civilization, Great Issues of a Race, 4500 BC to 2000 AD. It was written by great scholar Chancellor Williams. Also, Africa was also called Akibulan, Akebu-Lan, which is the mother of mankind, and Garden of Eden. This name was used by the numerous tribes and ancient nations, including the Nubians, Numidians, the Carthaginians, aka the Carthaginians, and people of Kush, aka Ethiopia or Abyssinia. However, we never had a single name for the entire continent. They had numerous localized names, but there is no name that was used for the entire continent before Africa per se. Wait a minute. What he said? Oh, yep. Any questions on that, y'all? I mean, think about that. You know? Think about that. Akibulan, the original name of Africa? Question? When people be saying that's the only name, no. Akibulan is just one of the many ancient local names of Africa. Among the many names and ancient names used to describe different areas of the land is Akibulan, which means mother of man. Akibulan has also been interpreted as meaning the Garden of Eden. Akibulan and Africa are two of the oldest indigenous names. The many names of the land were local and never referred to the entire continent. You know? So Akibulan was used by Egyptians, Nubians, Numidians, the Carthaginians, aka Carthaginians, Ethiopians, Kush, Africa. The current misnomer, adopted by almost everyone today, was adopted and used more widely and across many cultures to describe the continent, likely because of it's easily translated in many indigenous languages. The ancient Greeks, or the Greeks and the Romans, and as a result of the wide usage of the name Africa, came over to use Africa to describe the whole continent. But a few more examples of indigenous sources for the word Africa. The Africa, A-F-A-R-A-K, also known as Auriga, A-O-U-R-I-G-H-A, were a Berber people who lived south of Carthage, which is North Africa. The term Afrik, A-F-A-R-I-K, or Africa, were used to denote the land of the Afrak, A-F-A-R-A-K. The Phoenician root Farak or Faruqa, F-A-R-A-Q-U-A, which suggests a separation, or in other words, diaspora per se. The same root is found in some African language, like Bambara. In the Sanskrit and Hindu, the root Apara, A-P-A-R-A, or Africa, it denotes that which, in geographical terms, comes after, or in other words, the west of India per se. From the geographical position of India, the Asian country in which the East Africans established colonies, namely the Dravidian culture, which the scholar was just saying. Africa is the Western continent. Another school of thought states that the word Africa comes from two Phoenician terms, one of which means an ear of corn, which was a symbol of fertility in that region, and of Pharika, Pharika, which means land of the fruit. Other local names used to describe the land of Africa: Oruga, Ethiopia; Kori or Kari, Corphye; Ortega, Libya; Afrik, Afarik; Kemet, Kush; Nubia, Olympia; Gadangwana; Hesperia, Tamari or Tamari, Ta-Mery, or Tamir, Ta-Mere, or Oceania. Bottom line, Africa has many indigenous source names. But the question may arise, why do some misnomer, black people per se, say Africa got its name from Publius Cornelius Scipio, who was given the abdomen. The abdomen is a nickname, Africanus, after defeating General Hannibal Barca. And then he called himself Asiatic. Yet the same brothers and sisters that say they're scholars, they say Asia got his name from the brother of Scipio, who was rewarded for his victories in Asia with the abdomen Scipio Asiatics. Lucius Cornelius Scipio, who was better known as Scipio Asiaticus, was given the abdomen, aka nickname Asiatus, by the Romans, just like his brother was given an abdomen, aka nickname Africanus, when he defeated Hannibal Barca. So the answer is, brothers and sisters, may arise. The word Africa is an indigenous name used by dozen North and East African tribes for thousands of years before the so-called Roman Republic was ever born. Rome got the name Africa from Africans. So no, Africa is not named after any Romans. And then the question might come up, was Africa named by or after a Roman general called Scipio Africanus? Even if you do not know the many indigenous words and meanings which translate to Africa, it should be obvious to you that Africa is not, no disrespect, with all due respect, is not a European word. There are not European cities of towns called Africa. If Africa was a European word per se, there would be other places named Africa. Wouldn't you think? As a philosopher, as a philo, New Age brothers and sisters will falsely, they might say they're sincere, but you're sincerely wrong, tell you that Africa got its name from the Romans. And that is a lie. And we done proved this a plethora of times from scholarship. And the people spreading this lie do not know history. And some of them do. Some of them do know the truth, but choose to spread the falseness. And then you have to ask yourself, why? Why? You know? Africa is not a European word. It's not named after the Romans, who was Cornelius, Publius Cornelius Scipio. It's multiple ancient African sources for the word Africa, including the Berber word Afir, I-F-R-I, the Berber word Afar, A-F-E-R, or Afar, which is the name of the Bantu Ephraim from Algeria, and Tripolian. Africa can also be derived from the Egyptian Afrika, the A-F-R-U-I-K-A, to turn toward the opening of the Ka. You see? Therefore, the Ka, like I said, is the interject double of every person. An opening of the Ka refers to a womb or birthplace. Africa would be, for the ancient Egyptians, the birthplace. These and many other ancient sources include hieroglyphics, make reference to the title or designation, Africa. Gratitude, I got you, bro. But the Roman general, once again, who defeated Hannibal was named Publius Cornelius Scipio. He was best known for defeating Hannibal at the final battle of the Second Punic War, 218 and 202 BC, at Zama, a feat that earned him the agnomen. Agnomen is a title or a nickname, Africanus. Scipio was also called by the nickname the Roman Hannibal. He was called Africanus because he defeated the great African general of all time. Rome did not create the name Africa, and anyone who claims they did is mistakenly or purposely, just, call it what it is. But I'm saying Africa is not named after no Romans. The Romans named themselves. It's just what it is, man. And it's no disrespect. All through history, and like I showed you, the first church fathers, everything, just like the scholar was saying, he said, it's no disrespect. He traveled all over the universities. And here it is. It's just what it is. Africanus is an agnomen. And what is an agnomen? Publius Cornelius was given an agnomen for defeating the general named Hannibal Barca. The agnomen given to Publius Cornelius was Africanus, and Publius Cornelius Scipio was given the title Africanus, and many thousands of Romans and Africans were given the agnomen Africanus. But Roman naming practices, they vary greatly over the centuries between the founding of Rome to the early Middle Ages. However, the practice of the elite during that period between the mid-Republic and the early Empire has become to be seen as the classical Roman naming convention. This is likely to be is because this period provides good evidence of naming practices of the best documented class and the best documented Roman period per se. And by the end of the Republican era, a name for an aristocratic male citizen comprised three parts. The three parts were trinomen, paranomen, given name, the nomen or the nomen gentile or simple gentile or gentilicium, being the name of the gens or the clan, and cognomen, name of a family line within the genes. Sometimes a second or a third cognomen called agnomen was added. Yeah, I hope we listening. The nomen and later cognomen were virtually always hereditary. During the imperial period, the number and opinions for elements within a name considerably increased. The naming conventions for the later period grew out of a desire to indicate statuses, connections, and ancestry in a way that was much more wide-ranging than could be shown by the trinomnia. You see? And after the, And after the cognomen, because hereditary almost is the function as a nickname, a second nickname or agnomen was appended to the name after birth. Usually not immediately, watch this, to signify some personal characteristic or accomplishment. So a common agnomen was pious. When you see, if you're a scholar and you research history, you'll see pious this, just like noble. For someone who displays virtues like honesty, reverence to the gods with the S, or devotion to family and state. Superbus, which is proud, and pulchre, which is handsome, were always examples of an agnomen, agnomina. Unlike the nomen and the cognomen, an agnomen was usually not inherited unless the son also had the same attribute or did the same deeds, although some victory. Agnomina, like Augustus, aka Majestic, and Germanicus, the German conqueror, and of course Scipio Africanus, the conqueror of Africa, eventually became handed down as additional cognomina. So an agnomen, aka, which is a plural, the plural of it is agnomina, the Agnomina. So in the Roman naming convention was a nickname, just as the cognomen was initially. However, brothers and sisters, the cognomina eventually became family names. So the agnomina were needed to distinguish between similar named persons. However, as the agnomen was an additional and optional component in a Roman name, and not all Roman had an agnomen. I hope you follow me. Watch this. Pseudo. So I hope we know what pseudo means. Pseudo Probus used the hero of the Punic Wars, Publius Cornelius Scipio Africanus, as an example. AKA, men's personal names are of 4 types: praenomen, nomen, cognomen, and agnomen. Praenomen, for instance, Publius, nomen, Cornelius, cognomen, Scipio, and agnomen, Africanus. Marius Victorinius further elaborates: I am agnomen, extrinsius, venit. So what he's saying is, now the agnomen comes from outside and in 3 styles: from personality or physique or achievements, from personality such as superbus, haughty, and pious, displaying the Roman syndrome of virtues, including honesty, reverence to the gods, devotion to family and state, etc., and so on. From physique such as Carasus or Carasus, Crassus, fatty, and pulcher, which is handsome, or from achievements such as Africanus and Critus, Creticus, from their victories in Africa and on Crete. Therefore, brothers and sisters, Africanus, Critus, and the likes are also known as victory titles. For example, Gaius Marcius Cornelius earned his from the capture of Corleone, Corioli. Research this. So again, to be clear, as we close, Scipio is not the source of the word Africa. Africanus is his victory name because he won a war against General Hannibal Barca in Africa. So we summarize that up by the Roman general who defeated Hannibal was named Publius Cornelius Scipio. He was best known for defeating Hannibal at the final battle of the Second Punic War in 218 to 202 BC at Zama, a feat that earned him the agnomen, aka title, aka nickname. Africanus Scipio was also called by the nickname the Roman Hannibal, and he was called Africanus because he beat the greatest African general of all time. And that's just, what it is. And all I'm here is to continue to shed light on history, on biblical history and world history, so we can really see what's going on in the world, and we can start, going back to things and respecting each other and understanding the culture, no matter what, how can I say, cloth you pick up. And then coming from a lawful perspective, we can agree to some facts. And if we agree to disagree and people want to operate on things that's meaningless, then we at least know where brothers and sisters stand. We're being righteous and understanding who you are in history and law, and connecting the 2/5 back that make you a complete. Understanding what the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th amendment consist of. Understanding what manumissions consist of. And so, with that being said, brothers and sisters, I give y'all honor. I give y'all love for taking time out y'all day, for watching the film, and for listening to me. And like I said, I would love for brothers and sisters, if you're watching this, to come to class. Like I said, we have a whole book company, mypdfbooks.com. That's books with the Z, where you can get so many ebooks for a fraction of the price. that they'll be on Amazon or anything. And if you want books and stuff printed and binded, our sister company at bindedbooks.com, we print and bind books that may be super expensive on Amazon. And anything that you see me lecturing on when I be speaking, and if you looking those books up and you may say, man, these books cost thousands, all you got to do is hit me up. If you need turban, fezzes, or anything, if you don't know how to wrap your turban, get with me. I have these products for you at morrishaberdasher.com, and I'll give you gifts. But like I said, please subscribe to our Temple and School YouTube channel at Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School, where every Saturday we have adapt class at 10:30 or the AZ time zone. Every Sunday, 2 p.m. Sunday school. Friday, we usually have book club every Friday. But with that being said, brothers and sisters, anything y'all need, y'all know how to get with me. I give honor and I respect everyone. And with that being said, peace, light, and illumination.